Hello, we're LearnPlay Foundation and this is B4Gaming. In this film we want to highlight people's experiences with all things gaming, and to do this we've spoken to people to learn more about how gaming has an impact on their lives, relationships and livelihoods.
I'm Neil Cooper, I go by TG Coopzilla. I'm 30 and from Wolverhampton. I stream at www.twitch.tv/Trongang and I'm a general gaming enthusiast.
My name's Jonathan Pearson Key. I play by the name M Theory and I play in Rocket League in a community-based league.
My name is Riggs Ronde. I'm 21 years old. I live in the Netherlands and I'm the team captain of the Wolf esports Rocket League team.
I am Chloe Evans and I'm also in game development in LearnPlay Foundation.
Yeah, my name is Jassi Singh, also known as Singo and also known as the Maharaja of Dudley.
My name's Anthony Bray. I have worked in the gaming industry since 1993.
My name is Simon Bailey. I'm a game developer. I've been in the business for 20 years.
Chris Deering is an industry veteran from his time as Vice President of International Marketing at Atari in the 80s, going to head up the successful Sony Computer Entertainment Europe as CEO and bringing the PlayStation console to Europe. We decided to ask him a few questions about how he thinks gaming has evolved over the decades.
Well, Atari came as a derivative of the original Pong game, which was started with an oscilloscope, and someone had the brilliant idea to, maneuver the oscilloscope, and we managed to produce a quasi tennis game, and that started getting people hooked. But the idea of game designs really goes back to interactive books. Then I guess in the very earliest days, the games were taken from the arcade coin-op, basically Pac-Man and Pong and those kinds of games, and made possible at home by the mass production efficiencies of a standardized design. And for about the price of a VCR, the average home could put under their TV something that gave them a at-home version of an arcade game, no more insert coin. But alongside this was the computer and finally the personal computer, which made, accessibility to home computing affordable. And the earliest games in that space were text-based adventure games, Zork and games like that. And that gave rise to the role-playing model. There's a door on your right, you hear a sound of a barking dog. There's a door on your left, there's light shining through the crevices. Which one do you want? And then depending on what you wanted, the branch continued. So it was just like the branch of an interactive book. And as the power and the sound and everything became more realistic, we started having more team play, football games, and various other sports. And ultimately, sort of third-person adventure games like Lara Croft, was one of the first ones that came as an iconic game for PlayStation 1. PlayStation sort of debuted, introduced CD sound to the games, which made a whole lot better atmosphere. It had much better graphics and speed and number of pixels and physics and things that would make a lot of difference in the game design. And then early in the 2000s when the PlayStation 2, which was a real upgrade. And since PlayStation 2, you've had very good frame rates, very good color and resolution, very good physics, but ultimately Xbox pioneered the online aspect of consoles.
Jassi Singh, also known as Singo, is a Twitch streamer who's notable for playing many retro fighting games from his youth in the Black Country. So we thought we'd ask him about his virtual chip shop and why it's so important to him.
The virtual chip shop is an event that I hold on my Twitch channel, and it's to give love to some of the older 2D fighting games that you don't really see being played too much at tournaments and online. I didn't see many people here in the UK playing those certain games that I used to love playing back in the arcades or during the chip shop days here in the early 90s. So I thought, if it's not there, I'll do it myself. If you actually create it and you promote it, the people will find you. The people will, they will go out and support the event as well. The virtual chip shop, I'm trying to capture that kind of that essence of back in the day. So it's not just, like nostalgia. It's also hype. It's also jokes. It's also, aggro as well. Some of the some of the more enjoyable aspects of the fighting game community is, just the passion and the noise. Really, I mean, the noise is a half. Like just the disbelief, the shock. Of someone doing something amazing or something absolutely terrible.
Simon Bailey is a game developer with a great deal of expertise built up over the last couple of decades, and we wanted to know about his early experiences that got him to begin his career in the industry.
We used to go to a takeaway restaurant to get Chinese food on the way home from school. We would buy a bag of apple fritters or banana fritters, and in the foyer of the restaurant they had a scramble machine. And so my first experience of playing video games was playing Scramble, standing up on an arcade machine. And I was never brilliantly good at it, so I couldn't get on the leaderboard. So I kind of went back just to playing football and back to, board games, Dungeons and Dragons, etc.
Dominoes I used to play all the time with my granddad. That's a really fond memory for me. I love chess as well, which all seems really weird and far-fetched compared to what I play. But I like those kind of things because it brings people together, I think. It's not just a game like people say it is.
I think gaming is important to me because when I started playing off, I was obviously playing with my friends and having a good time. Even when I was playing already with my friends, I was just making more and more friends playing online. You meet new people, you enjoy the time you spend together, you even add each other like after a game to play again. For me, also a big part is that I used to play tennis at like a really high level and I wanted to be a professional tennis player. But I was like a little kid. I was still getting injured and I was like, I'm not sure if I can do this like for the rest of my life. Like, I don't want to play a month and then get injured and then play 2 weeks again, get injured again. So I missed like that competitive spirit, and gaming really brought that back to me as well. And it feels so nice to compete in things.
I got into games basically because of my uncle. I used to stay on my nan's at the weekend and he would play games from all consoles as long as he could afford it. Street Fighter 2 being the main one because when I was younger I was into martial arts films, and obviously things like the Turtles and Power Rangers where fighting was all the rage for entertainment. And so Street Fighter really stuck with me.
Anthony Bray is a leader in the games industry with years of experience at Sony, and he was kind enough to tell us about his experiences making games but playing them too.
Well, it was massive in school. It was very different because we would go in and swap floppy disks, and I'd have I remember one of the games, I think it was Shadow of the Beast, or there was Dragon's Lair, which I think was on about 12 or 16 disks or something like that. And we would go into school and we would, we'd be swapping them and trying to copy them and stuff like that. And it was really, really big. It was massive. And I think the lack of accessibility, because we didn't have the internet at the time, we didn't have mobile phones at the time. I think even it was even more magic around them, at that time. So you wouldn't have Candy Crush and all these types of games. It was all people who are really, really into their games, and they would really try hard. They'll be standing at the shop when the game was first released. And, I remember a game called like Double Dragon when it came out, because it was only on the arcades at the time, and then it came out on the Amiga 500. And there was just so much talk at school. Have you got it yet? Have you got it yet? And all that kind of stuff, where it's different now. As soon as something's released, you just press a button, you download it onto your phone, or you go home and you've got it on Steam. It's not, you don't have to queue outside a shop. So
to me, I think these old school fighting games, they still uphold today. I mean, you can't disregard a great art style and great animation. I mean, if you look at some of these other games which try to go for, like more photo-realistic approach back in the early 90s or mid-90s, if you look at them today in 2021, the passage of time has not been as kind. A testament of that is even when you've got 3D graphics today, with amazing textures and modeling, that you still have people going back to these old school games, and it's not just like the mechanics of the game. It's the look of the game. It's the sound of the game. These old school games definitely have a charm, and that charm, rests within its, its 2D hand-drawn graphics.
As time has progressed, my ideas behind how to play games has changed, and there's a lot of things that you can do in newer games that you can actually do in older games. So, for example, Street Fighter 4, that was the first time that I deep dived into learning a game beyond the surface level punch, kicks, throwing a fireball. I didn't understand how to properly utilize combos. I didn't understand how to do block strings and such. You realize that these things was always there. Being able to play that online now against people, I can actually see what I've missed out on. I missed out on how to properly utilize them. So going back now and experimenting, I can see where these newer games have got these ideas from. And that's interesting to me.
Competitive gaming has grown so much in popularity over the last 10 or 20 years in terms of the gamers getting involved, but also the audience loving to come and watch and take part. But yeah, it is a massive competition and it has never been more competitive, and we want to know why that is.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice to get to the point where I'm at now. I'm not sure how I did it, to be honest, because I just wanted to get better. Like, something inside my body was just telling me, you gotta get better at this. Like, you're enjoying this, you just want to get better. I see all these people around me that were better than me, so it's like, I just want to be as good as them. Yeah, I don't know. At some point, I just got an offer from an organization to join their team as a substitute. And the season later, I'm their team captain and I win my first major event.
So initially, actually getting into the game, I had no interest at all. But a friend of mine was going through some rough stuff at the time, and I wanted to try and find any way I could to cheer him up. I think this was 3 years ago now, and he was promoting Rocket League to me constantly, and we played it for the following 6 months or something. And it got to a point where we were getting pretty decent at the game, and we had a few other friends that played it. And this was a year and a half or so on. We were getting towards the higher ranks, so we decided that we wanted to try and find a league to play competitively in. So I did some research, I found one, and we joined and played for a few seasons.
When I first got into Rocket League, I just got it because my friends forced me to buy it. They wanted to play a different game than CSGO with me. So after some time, I finally bought the game and I started playing some games with them. At the start, I just wanted to have fun, but I'm a very competitive person. So I realized, okay, I'm worse than my friends. So I got to practice a lot, got to watch some good players, and I got to get better than them.
Chloe and Neil told us about their early experiences of how they got into gaming.
I think it was arcade edition of Street Fighter 4 dropped, which was an update to the game. It got to a point that I just searched local areas because there was nothing in Wolverhampton at the time. Electronic Dojo popped up, which is based in Birmingham. So I had no idea that this hub of players and community existed. So that was basically my barrier to entrance to the scene. It kind of opened up my confidence to go and try new things, because previous to that, I'd never been to a gaming convention. I'd never been to an offline competition. Because of that one dojo night, I then got involved with their flagship tournament, and I got to see behind the scenes. So I've gone from somebody that doesn't really know anything about the competitive scene to helping towards creating a successful event.
I think it was Modern Warfare 3 back on the Xbox 360. That was the first game that I ever played, the first proper console that I ever had. So that got me into competitive gaming back then.
So the league that I still play in is the Indie Gaming League. It's North American based, but they have European and Oceania servers. I think I played 3 seasons in total with my friends, and all 3 seasons I think we got 2 of them we got top 8, and then 1 of them we got top 4. So we broke up after our 3rd season, but I wanted to keep playing, and luckily because it's a community-based league, it wasn't too hard to find another team and keep moving on with it.
Beating someone is like one of the best feelings I can experience. Like the feeling of winning is just such a nice feeling for me. Like there's a fire inside of my body that just wants to have this feeling all the time. So having like competitive gaming, I can queue up whenever I want. I can get this feeling whenever I want. It's really nice for me to have that.
But gaming isn't just about playing competitively, it's about playing with your friends, having a good time and just socialising in general. With online gaming today, it actually feels like you stood side by side with one of your best pals, and this can often bring people together and have massive impacts on their personal lives, and we ask why that is.
Yeah, so we weren't all too close at the time. I just know that he told me about something pretty tragic that had happened in his family. But I wanted to try and cheer him up any way I could. So I took to the best way I know how, which is games. And it brought us together in that sense because we could have a laugh constantly. We were playing quite a lot, and we became really close just from that alone, being able to kind of build each other up or knock each other down if we're just having a laugh. And it was just a fun environment, especially being on the same kind of skill level and improving together. It really built our friendship up, I think.
When I was still in school, like school was kind of stressful for some people. For others, it's a breeze. For me, it was easy to get good grades, but it wasn't easy to like enjoy my time at school. So then when I got home and I could play video games and I could meet all these people from over the world and I'd have such a good time, that would just really brighten up my day. And I think it does that for a lot of people as well.
Well, you just reminded me there. I mean, there was one of the games that I was running. There was a kid who was at school, and he was it was an MMO, it was a multiplayer game, and we're still in touch to this very day. And he lives out in the Rocky Mountains, in some tiny village. But one of the things that he was telling me was that he was being bullied at school, and games helped him massively because it showed him that there were actually nice people out there who he could be friends with and stuff like that. And we're still in touch to this very day. He's out there, and he loves his games, and I've got people that I've met all over the world, and not just working in games, but actually playing them and managing them through these communities. People I'm still in touch with. It's really good.
I think there are a lot of changes if I compare it to when I was a kid to now. Because when I was little, I think gaming, like as far as I knew, only existed for like coming together with like my siblings or even with friends to just chill out, have some fun. Like I never knew there was like any competitive side to it, and I don't think at that time there was really a big one. But right now, like I think if you were playing video games back in the day, I think people would say, "Oh, you're so weird. Why are you playing video games?" But now in this time, if you say I don't play video games, everyone looks at you and goes like, "Huh? You're so weird. Why don't you play video games with us?"
Like on the Discord servers that I'm on, I'd say probably 10% of the people that I speak with are actually in the UK. They're in all parts of the world. And I think that's probably how it's changed. The fact that those same friendships that you were talking about, that maybe people who don't get on with people at school, they have this international group of friends. So if it's changed, it's probably because it's not so UK centric anymore. It's not so localized. It's international. People making, forging friendships and gaming partners, let's say, with all people from all walks of life and all around the world. That's probably how it's changed the most.
It was just Dungeons and Dragons, that we would play together, and also Subutio as well. We had a tabletop football game. Yeah, so and then we were thought of as nerds, when we did that. And clearly now it's like it's a whole communication channel as well. And there's teamwork and there's combat and there's discussion around it. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's changed the way that primarily young people, how they communicate with each other. And there's been a 30% uptick in game sales worldwide during the pandemic. So I think that sort of digital communication between young people has only increased again. It's been accelerated. LAN parties, that's just a way of life now, right?
Well, the first time I really got into competitive stuff was back in Black Ops 2. That kickstarted me being really competitive, and I played that a lot back when it first got released on the PS3. I played that so much with my friends, and it just kickstarted me into the multiplayer and just got me into really good competitive gameplays.
Okay, so a memorable experience for me was Versus Fire in 2016. I wasn't the one in the finals, but my brother was. He goes by TG Coopstar, and it was his actual first tournament. For him to not only get into the finals of a major, but also be his first tournament, that's like lightning in a bottle. It doesn't happen for many people. The pressure that was on him, because there's a room full of people watching you, and depending on the situation you're in, they either want you to win or want you to lose. So you've got people shouting in your ear is something else, and he went on to win. The feeling that I had as his big brother while I was watching him play, I popped off for him.
We asked our gamers how they think gaming has changed over the years, for themselves, but also how it's had an impact on their family life.
I spoke to my mum about it when we were first doing it. She's fine with me doing it. It's my life, but there's not all too much involvement. My dad, on the other hand, is completely the other way. It's full support. He's watching everything, wants to know everything. So if I'm streaming one of the matches on my Twitch, he'll be there for every second of it if he can, just to see how we play.
Gaming is obviously my job. It's affecting my life a lot, especially when I wasn't a pro yet. I had to give up like a lot of time I would usually spend with my friends because I had to put in hours, I had to practice. So on those Friday nights when they went to parties, I had to like dip out of that one. I can't go because I just wanted to play my game, want to get better at that. And my family, well, as well, like before I was a professional player, they were like really nervous, like, is he gonna finish his school? He's spending so much time behind his PC. But once I started getting like results and showing them like, look at all this, like what I can achieve with all this gaming, like they were so supportive and they understand everything now, and they want me to just be happy, and I get really happy when I am competing.
To close off our discussion, we asked how future technology will have an impact on gaming in the years to come.
I'd definitely say there were some milestones that were quite important. Pokemon Go, so using the augmented reality on mobile phones, even though I didn't think it was quite practical because the amount of battery power it used. Then the other day I had my first go on the Oculus, and I thought, this is a game changer. I remember when the first VR headsets were out back in the 90s, and they were just these massive machines that they put on at the trade shows, which weren't really practical and they didn't really work very well. They'd hurt your eyes because it is so real. And especially the times we're living in at the moment, social interaction and the whole idea. And I know it sounds a bit far-fetched and a bit sci-fi, but this whole total recall, step inside to the world in which you want to step inside of. When it's as realistic as what I saw the other day, it not just with gaming, but just with so many things, even social networks, the whole idea of just safely being able to walk around a virtual environment and meet and talk to other people.
So I think virtual reality will start bringing aspects of esports to competitors, and you can play tennis not just like Pong, but really on a court, with VR with somebody in Hong Kong and get a quite good experience. Then you'll take totally immersive headset from VR and move it over into something where you can be actually walking down the street, playing a game or getting information or finding out the price of stocks, listening to an audio book and all of the above, and still know that you're stepping out in front of a taxi, and still have a real world perspective and multitask your brain.
My feeling is that, this time VR is going to win out. I mean, they've tried a number of times, the industry's tried to get VR off the ground, and it looks like it's actually happening. And I believe, outside of the esports phenomena, which I know little about, but I can certainly see being absolutely massive. I think the games will become more and more immersive, and the holy grail is always to provide an experience where you forget yourself and you're fully immersed in the game. So with VR, if you can then remove the controller and you can have an extraordinary experience where it's almost hard to distinguish between the game environment and real life, then that's where it's heading.
Gaming, from dominoes to Fortnite, has played an important role in bringing people, families and friends together for generations. The bonds formed are as strong and grounded today as they were decades ago, and we believe these connections and relationships will hold firm even after gaming.